Welcome to Psalms. We are almost at the end of our journey as we go from in June, July, reading the book of Psalms. And in the book of Psalms, there are five sort of mini books. And so we start today our final mini book, book number 5. And with it, we come to a psalm that is of great thanksgiving and of celebration. So let's go straight to our first psalm now. Psalm 107. Let's make that maybe slightly little bit big. I think that might help us. Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. His love endures forever. Let the redeemed of the Lord tell their story. Those he redeemed from the hand of the foe, those he gathered from the lands from east and west, from north and south. Some wandered in desert wasteland, finding no way to a city where they could settle. They were hungry and thirsty, and their lives embedded away. Then they cried out to the Lord in their trouble, and he delivered them from their distress. He led them by a straight way to a city where they could settle. Let them give thanks to the Lord for his unfailing love and his wonderful deeds for mankind. For he satisfies the thirsty and fills the hungry with good things. Some sat in darkness, in utter darkness, prisoners suffering in iron chains, because they rebelled against God's command and despised the plans of the Most High. So he subjected them to a bitter labor. They stumbled, and there was no one to help. Then they cried to the Lord in their trouble, and he saved them from their distress. He brought them out of darkness, the utter darkness, and broke away their chains. Let them give thanks to the Lord for his unfailing love and his wonderful deeds for mankind. For he breaks down gates of bronze and cuts through bars of iron. Some became fools through their rebellious ways and suffered affliction because of their iniquities. They loathed all flood and drew near the gates of death. Then they cried to the Lord in their trouble, and he saved them from their distress. He sent out his word and healed them. He rescued them from the grave. Let them give thanks to the Lord for his unfailing love and his wonderful deeds for mankind. Let them sacrifice thanks offerings and tell of his works with songs of joy. Some went out on the sea in ships. They were merchants on the mighty waters. They saw the works of the Lord, his wonderful deeds in the deep, for he spoke and stirred up a tempest that lifted high the waves. They mounted up to the heavens and went down to the depths. In their peril their courage melted away. They reeled and staggered like drunkards. They were at their wits' end. Then they cried out to the Lord in trouble, and he brought them out of distress. He stilled the storms to a whisper. The waves of the seas were hushed. They were glad when it grew calm, and he guided them to their desired haven. Let them give thanks to the Lord for his unfailing love and his wonderful deeds for mankind. Let them exalt him in the assembly of the people and the praise in the council of the elders. He turned rivers into a desert, flowing springs into a thirsty ground, and fruitful land into a salt waste, because of the wickedness of those who lived there. He turned the desert into pools of water and parched ground into flowing spring. There he brought the hungry to live, and they founded a city where they could settle. They sowed the fields and planted vineyards that yielded a fruitful harvest. He blessed them, and their numbers greatly increased, and he did not let their herds diminish. Then their numbers decreased, and they were humbled by oppression, calamity, and sorrow. He who pours contempt on the nobles made them wander in the trackless waste. But he lifted the needy out of their affliction and increased their families like flocks. The upright see and rejoice, but all the wicked shut their mouths. Let the one who is wise heed these things and ponder the loving deeds of the Lord. So this is our reading today. So we come to our final book, as I've said, book number 5. And in essence, at the heart of this psalm is a psalm of thanksgiving. And the opening words are perhaps quite important with this. Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. His love endures forever. The psalmist wants to thank God for this love that endures forever. And we'll go on to give different particular examples of how God's love has endured and how God's love has rescued the people. But here we read on, let the redeemed of the Lord tell their story. And in this sense of thanks, what we hear with this word is a narration. So they give thanks, but they narrate why they give thanks, what God has done in all the particular stories. And he says he's gathered that from the lands from east and west, from north and south. Now, in the last few mini books of the book of Psalms, I've been speaking of how they were collated together after the calamitous event of the exile that really reshaped and reformed their identity as they lived with very little status, forced away from the land in a foreign world. And then that was sort of probably book 3 in the heart of their sorrow and distress. Book 4, well, they're still in that sorrow and distress, but they're moving, remembering what God has done, and are able to praise what God has done as they wait for God to act again. And here, as we move to book 5, we feel that we see God acting. He gathered from the lands from east and west, from north and south. It's this sense of those people who from the exile have been scattered among the nations. Well, now they are coming together. It's a sense, a story here of after the exile, and with it comes this thanks and these particular stories of narrating of what God has done for them. Not what God has done in the past, but now what God has done for them. And so as we enter this final week of Psalms, in this final mini book, book 5, maybe it would be good this week for us to think about our stories and consider perhaps what God is not what God is doing for us, not what God has done, but what is God doing for us now, and for us to give thanks for those things. And so with that in mind, we go out to bless the Lord.